Mi Qing is wearing a book. The book is a magical world. 9 years ago, different dimensional planes invaded Mercury, forming the realm of the void. The invasion of the void realm, the disappearance of the Aqua Blue Star civilization, and the survival of humanity are at a critical moment, with a variety of abilities blooming. And she became Mi Qing, an archivist. Archivist, equivalent to a certain degree of encyclopedia. As long as you truly touch the void spirit in the void, you will receive information about the void spirit. Of course, the stronger the strength, the more detailed the information obtained. This kind of ability is very interesting. Mi Qing thinks she can make another wave. This wave not only revealed a slight difference in one's own archivist, but also witnessed the grand scene of 100 schools of thought competing among capable individuals. Dreamer. Capable of dreaming about the future knife holder. Born with a knife, can only manifest at the age of 16. Summoner. Summon any spiritual object in the void realm, whether dead or living live streamer. Those with the ability to bind the live streamer's live broadcast room will be broadcasted 360 degrees without blind spots in the void, known to be impossible with any technology of Aquarius. The world is too bright. Mi Qing also wants to live a brilliant life. As for the disaster of truth and falsehood in the original plot, let's get lost keywords of the novel. My profile can be very thick without pop-ups. My profile can be very thick for downloading the complete set of TXT, and my profile can be very thick for reading the latest chapters. Chapter 1. True and False 1000 Gold. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. True and False 1000 Gold. Mi Qing arrived at the old mansion of the Li family in the Li family's car, without any of the main family members showing up. She didn't care and politely declined the driver's help, dragging her luggage through the door and walking in. In the living room, the host family sat around and comforted the pale-looking Li Xian. Xian, don't be afraid. Anyway, you are always a child of the Li family. In our generation, you are the only girl who has been pampered and raised. How could we not want you? Yes, Xin, I only have you as my sister, and no one can replace you. Aunt Lin, the assistant chef of the Li family, immediately noticed Mi Qing at the door. In a moment of shock, she coughed slightly in panic and said, "Miss Mi is here." The whole family instantly quieted down, and the atmosphere was stagnant. Aunt Lin took the initiative to take the luggage from Mi Qing's hand, breaking the silence and saying, "Miss, I'll help you take your luggage upstairs." Mi Qing waved her hand and placed her luggage at the door, looking at the Li family. His gaze swept over the crowd and landed on Li Xian with an inexplicable smile. This smile broke the silence. "Mi Qing is here, come and sit down." The eldest lady of the Li family, Wang Jiao, is a good dancer with long sleeves. She quickly greets Mi Qing and also winks at her husband and the others. "Are you here?" Coming and going are different concepts. Obviously, they didn't even think that Mi Qing, the true daughter, was going home. Mi Qing is an easy-going person. How did she feel comfortable and how did she get along? She sat over with a big bang and sat opposite Li Xian, with a smile on her face that seemed sarcastic and distinct in personality. Being looked at by Mi Qing like this, Li Xian's face was timid, with a pitiful and hesitant expression, perfectly contrasting with the cross-legged Mi Qing. Mi Qing's nominal biological father, Li Chong, frowned and said, "Sit well. Elders are here, what is your sitting posture?" "Elderly." Mi Qing chewed on these two words with a vivid expression. "What kind of elder?" "The elder who gave birth to me and raised me. Or the elder who gave me this lost and regained daughter as a finger when we first met." Bold. Li Chong had long known that Mi Qing was a child growing up in a poor area, but now that he has seen it firsthand, he still feels a headache. The information obtained from the secretary's investigation into Mi Qing does not satisfy him at all. He gets angry and can shock many people, but not including Mi Qing. Mi Qing was indifferent to this. He looked directly at the silent old man of the Li family and asked frankly, "My registered residence was moved into the Li family without my consent. Now I come here for nothing but one thing. When will my registered residence be moved out?" Li Shuihai, the old man of the Li family, carefully examined Mi Qing in front of him. A 15-year-old girl with sharp short hair and extremely prominent eyebrows and eyes, very similar to the Li family. She had a pair of affectionate eyes that were almost identical to those of her mother. It's just that Mi Qing's mother, Chao Laishu, is naturally gentle, and her affectionate eyes are mostly the affection of her youngest daughter. But Mi Qing is different, her affectionate eyes are an undisguised display of publicity. This kind of publicity is out of place with the introverted approach of the Li family. You should know that under the age of 18, you need a guardian. Mi Qinglen, guardian. My adoptive father died, and he has no relatives. According to the policy, my adoptive father's friends are willing to be my guardians, so we can go through a procedure. She schemed well. As a result, she killed the Li family on the way, and still removed her registered residence without saying a word, without telling her at all. You have relatives, Li Shuihai reminded. Mi Qing rolled her eyes and said, "Come on. I learned from you that I am from your family, have anyone seen me? Yesterday I was contacted by a secretary, and today I was picked up by a driver. Walking into your door, what you heard was all your care for the fake daughter. What's wrong? You think I, Mi Qing, am a lowly person from a poor area, so I have to be grateful because you are willing to accept me back to the Li family. Don't talk nonsense. I don't have excessive emotions. If you want my gratitude, take the time for the next life." Mi Qing's speech output caused a damage of 205, turning the color of the Li family. Even the introverted Li Shuihai felt his eyebrows twitching and his heart filled with energy. Mi Qing, you're a junior. How could you talk to your elders like this? Apologize to your grandfather quickly, or else you'll get out. Li Hui, who was Mi Qing's elder brother by blood, furrowed his brows and his face remained calm. Mi Qing looked coldly at Li Hui and said, "Respectful young master, I don't know how to get out. Would you like to demonstrate it to me?" You. Li Hui was furious, but was pressed down by Wang Jiao, who was equally angry. At the end of the day, this is the matter of the second house. The big house can watch from the sidelines, but it's best not to participate. Have people who haven't seen the second room stop speaking now. Why should someone from the big house stand out for the second house? Chao Laishu looked at Mi Qing with tears in her eyes and said sorrowfully, "Mi Qing, I know you're blaming us. But what happened that day was not something we wanted. You must admit your mistake, we are all blood relatives." Mi Qing refused to eat either soft or hard. She looked at Li Xian, who was silently shedding tears while biting her lips, and raised her eyebrows to ask, "Bloodline relatives. Who is she?" Chao Laishu choked up for a moment, and Li Xian cried out, "It's all my fault. Can't I leave yet?" She didn't make it, so Chao Laishu instinctively grabbed Li Xian's arm. Li Xing glared angrily at Mi Qing and said, "She's my sister. Even if you leave, she won't leave." "Ah Sheng." Li Xian cried loudly, and Chao Laishu also shed tears. Mi Qing, Xian has been in poor health since childhood. Don't target her like this. Li Chongze was also furious, Xian will always be the daughter of my Li family. As soon as you come back, you want to drive her away. You are really an uneducated person. Mi Qing looked at the loving family in front of her and thought about the direction of the novel's Central Plains plot. She clapped and said, "I think you're right. I'm really an uneducated person. Who made me lucky not to be raised in your Li family and receive your upbringing?" One by one, although each had their own ulterior motives, they pretended to be intimate and looked disgusting. I don't know whose scales were touched by Mi Qing's words, but the first one that struck was Li Chongze, who was closest to Mi Qing. He raised his hand and greeted Mi Qing's face. That posture was not about hitting my biological daughter, but more like hitting an enemy. Mi Qing's gaze turned cold, and she lifted her foot to kick Li Cheng's heart. Don't look at her slender arms and legs, she has been trained before. The long and stretched legs were retracted, and Li Cheng fell in response. A few screams of surprise followed by a scream, and Li Cheng collided with the crossbeam of the sofa behind him, injuring his waist. Chengzi. Chao Laishu and Li Xian were busy helping Li Chengzi, but he had a waist injury and every movement was heartbreaking. His mouth was trembling, and others dared not move. Call a doctor quickly. Wang Jiao gave Li Chengzi a wink, and the latter quickly told Aunt Lin that she had fulfilled her duty as a big brother at least. Li Sheng saw the crying Chao Laishu and the silently crying Li Xian, and listened to Li Chengzi's mournful cries. His mind was confused and he was furious. He lifted the ashtray on the tea table and cursed, then walked towards Mi Qing's forehead. A 13-year-old boy, like a little calf. This round arm doesn't save effort. The ashtray slipped away and brushed past Mi Qing's scalp. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Each harbors their own devils. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Each harbors their own devils. Mi Qing dodged the ashtray that hit her, her face turning cold. She took a step forward and directly disabled Li Sheng's arm. Without saying a word, she grabbed his hair and threw it forcefully onto the tea table. The mahogany tea table hummed, Li Sheng let out a scream, and his forehead bled. Mi Qing didn't leave her hand and sneered. She pressed his forehead against the tea table 3 times before letting go. The blood splattered onto her face and slowly slid down. Something that knows no bounds. She let go of the unconscious Li Sheng, who was limping like a dead pig on the ground, while Mi Qing casually pulled a few drawing papers from the tea table, wiped the blood from his face, and looked at Li Xian with a stiff and fearful face, showing a smile. With this smile, Li Xian shrank back, her face full of fear, no longer as pitiful as before. And this smile also brought the Dou Li family to their senses. Chao Laishu screamed and lay on the unconscious Li Sheng, crying bitterly this time. Li Cheng, who was suffering from unbearable back pain, lay on the sofa, watching Li Sheng's miserable situation. He rolled his eyes and fainted for only a moment before being awakened by the noise. He leaned on his waist and screamed, "Oh!" The big family was completely stunned. Li Hui, who was just shouting with Mi Qing, had a stiff expression. Looking at Li Sheng's face covered in blood, he couldn't help but retreat. Li Shuihai gasped for breath and covered his chest, pointing to Mi Qing's trembling hand. "You." Mi Qing was unconcerned. Looking at the chaotic Li family, he felt happy and sat down again leisurely. "I am also easy to get along with. If everyone is willing to live a peaceful life, then we can naturally live in peace. But if someone makes me unhappy, believe me, I will make none of you unhappy." She sat on the sofa, not seeing the bold gesture she had just made. There was a casual sneer on his face, but the threat in his words was not concealed. "Easy to get along with. When we first met, we injured our father and even beat our younger brother to pieces. So ruthless, yet shamelessly claiming to be easy to get along with." Li Shuihai was so angry that his heart ached. Li Chengui quickly helped the old man, with a dull expression on his face. He felt that Mi Qing was right in saying that the people of the Li family did indeed have ulterior motives. Wang Jiao urged Aunt Lin and Aunt Li, who were busy in the kitchen, to quickly call for an ambulance. At the same time, she also had to subtly remind Li Hui, who was sluggish, to take action and not to be foolish. Now that the second-bedroom family is in trouble, if he doesn't behave well, how can he let the old man see it? Mi Qing paid no attention to this mess, nor did she care about the poisoned look in Chao Laishu's eyes. Anyway, according to the original plot of the novel, Chao Laishu strangely suppressed Mi Qing in every way possible. She doesn't understand, But it doesn't mean she will be suppressed by the people of the Li family in the original plot and become the knife in Li Xian's hand. Thinking of the encounter where the original, Mi Qing, died without a whole body in the original plot, Mi Qing's eyes were deep. Her gaze turned and fell on Li Xian. Seeing that the latter was no longer pretending to be timid like Bai Lian, she smiled and said, Li Xian, the internet is very developed nowadays. Various types of novels emerge endlessly, and true and false novels are blooming everywhere. It's better to dislike each other in pairs, but between you and me, water and fire are incompatible. As soon as she returned to the Li family, she encountered a scene where the Li family collectively defended Li Xian's mental retardation. It's hard to say that this was not intentional by Li Xian. However, what's even more interesting is that the other members of the Li family may not seem mentally disabled, but they still follow Li Xian's crude methods and follow the trend. This reaction is a bit interesting. Despite the twists and turns of her thoughts, Mi Qing still didn't forget to continue speaking harshly. If I stay at the Li family for a day, you'd better shrink down. If you don't believe me, you can give it a try. I just don't know if your bones are hard enough. Li Xian suddenly looked up at Mi Qing and asked in disbelief, what did the hospital do to me when I hugged the wrong person back then? To be serious, we are all victims, aren't we? Yes, I took over your identity, but I am not an informant. Is it fair for you to target me like this when you first met? Mi Qing chuckled lightly and said, fairness. Did you actually mention fairness to me? She laughed out loud, it's not the first time you've met me, is it? As soon as this sentence was spoken, Li Xian's face turned pale. The Li family members who were listening were uncertain and looked at Li Xian with suspicion. Mi Qing looked at Mr. Li and kindly reminded him, oh, it seems you don't know yet. Li Xian, that's an extremely rare dreamer in Tianxian Kingdom. She knew about my existence long ago. 3 months ago, she even went to the slum to see me. But she just gave me a direct glance, like a mouse seeing a cat, scared away. Just thinking about it, my face is 60% similar to that of Ms. Chao Laishu and Mr. Li Chongzi. Anyone who doesn't know can see that I have a deep relationship with them. In the original plot of the novel, the original, Mi Qing, became a knife in Li Xian's hand, a discarded knife that was thrown away after use. Mi Qing doesn't want to leave the plot, so she came back this time to sow discord. Dreamers. Li Shuihai and others looked at Li Xian with suspicion, but their gaze was not surprise but suspicion. Why did Li Xian keep her identity as a dreamer from her? Why did Li Xian go to see Mi Qing 3 months ago? You should know that the Li family only knew Mi Qing's identity for a month. Doubts filled my heart, and for a moment no one spoke. Even Li Chong, who was supporting his waist and howling, ignored the howling. His eyes buried in the sofa were filled with a fierce expression of being out of control due to the situation. And Li Xian, being exposed by Mi Qing to her biggest secret, felt fearful and suspicious in her heart. Why did you know? Shouldn't you be an archivist? How did you know that I was a dreamer? Her secret was called out to be broken. So much so that she was too scared that even the Li family couldn't care, and she completely tore her face apart from Mi Qing. Mi Qing raised her eyebrows. The reason why she knew it was naturally because by chance she had read a novel about Li Xian's brilliant life. The Dreamer. The protagonist of The Dreamer is Li Xian, a character that is loved by countless people. Her infatuation lies not in her appearance, but in her abilities. Li Xian is a dreamer who can not only dream and see what she wants to see anytime and anywhere, but also judge the strength of other abilities based on her dreams. Because of this ability, she has been searching for potential future talents from the same period since the day she first dreamt. She befriended them, provided them with dreams, and helped those with promising abilities to move forward more smoothly. Therefore, Li Xian is known as the Koi. Koi, since ancient times, has been a beautiful name representing good luck in Tianxian Kingdom. However, Li Xian predicted the blessings and misfortunes of those with abilities around her in her dreams, and on the other hand, she is indeed known as the koi she carries. Therefore, in the increasingly chaotic Tianxian kingdom in the later stage, capable individuals gathered closer to her. In the original novel, Mi Qing is an archivist. Archivists are known as the encyclopedia of the void realm, let alone the archivists of Mi Qing who seem to have evolved. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. The Void Realm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. The Void Realm. The specific direction of evolution is unknown, only useful for Li Xian. So from the first day Mi Qing returned to the Li family, Li Xian began to engage in spiritual PUA with Mi Qing. A 15-year-old girl, holding a desire for family affection, was repeatedly defeated and completely turned into a knife in Li Xian's hand, a discarded knife that was once used. The process is unbearable, and the result is even more unbearable. In the entire novel, the description of Mi Qing is almost a background board, with few mentions. But once it is mentioned, it is when the original Mi Qing suffered. In the final episode, someone objectively mentioned Mi Qing, saying only how lucky she was to be with Li Xian's family. Unfortunately, he has a short life. Good luck and short life are the most vivid descriptions of Mi Qing in the entire novel. At that time, when Mi Qing saw the description of her eponymous Mi Qing, she cursed in her heart. Go to TMD for good luck. For Mi Qing, Li Xian is a bloodthirsty venomous snake. She won't die, Mi Qing won't live. By chance, Mi Qing became the 12-year-old Mi Qing. After 3 years, it was safe and sound. But I didn't expect that at the age of 15, I would eventually have to follow the original plot. Thinking of the original plot, Mi Qing chuckled coldly. The world is so big, yet so magical. Follow the original plot. You can roll the calf. After countless twists and turns in my heart, I finally returned to reality. Just now, the probing of words confirmed that Li Xingguan knew before the age of 16 that he could have a dream, and Mi Qing's expression deepened. From this perspective, in the plot of the novel, Mi Qing was calculated step by Li Xian from the moment she entered the Li family. At the thought of this, Mi Qing was full of enthusiasm. She is not the original Mi Qing. She does not expect family affection or care about moral principles. So, she wanted to see if the female protagonist Li Xian, under her oppression, could reach the pinnacle of her life like in the original plot. Seeing that Mi Qing didn't answer, but met her clear gaze, Li Xian felt that she was naked and had no secrets in front of her. Her previous plans fell through, and at the age of 15, she couldn't hide any more emotions. Even though her mind was deep, she was still speechless at this moment. She was speechless, and the Li family panicked. Is Mi Qing actually an archivist? Is Li Xian a dreamer? At this moment, they didn't know whether to blame Li Xian for his concealment or change their attitude towards Mi Qing. Today's Mercury has been invaded by different dimensional planes since 9 years ago, forming different void realms. The territory of the void is an overlapping area of different dimensional planes. There are crises and more opportunities. People born under the Water Blue Star have also given birth to many special abilities due to the emergence of the void realm. Special abilities, diverse, can be considered as 100 flowers blooming. But without exception, every person with special abilities can be respected as long as they don't die. Their Li family also has special abilities, and it is Li Yao, the second son of Li Chonggui. He is a spirit summoner who can summon all things that come with spiritual power. These things can be said to be extensive, but now the third level Li Yao can only summon dead objects with spiritual power, and the limitations are extremely great. But that's all, he also gave the Li family a place in the re-established order of Tianxian Kingdom. Because there are too few people with special abilities. Not everyone can be so lucky to have the chance of 1 in 10,000 people. Now that it is known that Li Xian is a special ability person, and Mi Qing is also a special ability person. The people of the Li family are first uncertain, then extremely ecstatic. Li Shuihai immediately reacted and gestured for Wang Jiao to take Li Xian back to her room to rest. No matter why Li Xian tried to conceal her identity as a dreamer, it is now impossible to investigate. Later, he looked at Mi Qing, who was very kind and didn't see the slightest hint of fainting from anger before. Mi Qing, we are all blood relatives. It was our fault that you were away for 15 years. Now that you're back, our family will compensate you well. Li Chonggue was worried that there was only one Li Yao in his family, while Li Chang's family saw that they were going to have two special abilities. My mind was full of thoughts, thinking about how to keep both of them at the Li family, and at the same time, how to make Mi Qing and Li Xian more incompatible. Therefore, the expression was very complicated, and there was a big change in attitude towards Mi Qing. Mi Qing, your grandfather was right. After all, your family owes you. You are currently living at home, and if you are not satisfied, you can find your aunt. Wang Jiao originally intended to help Li Xian go upstairs, but Li Xian stood by Li Xing's side and couldn't pull her up no matter how hard she tried. You should have more strength, the scene is inevitable and not good. Looking. So she also didn't bother to pay attention to Li Xian. Upon hearing her husband's words, she hurriedly said, "Yes, your uncle is right. If there is anything you are not satisfied or like, just say it. Your aunt will definitely satisfy you." Li Xian has already been raised by the second house, no matter how much she tries, she won't lean towards the big house. Mi Qing is different. She has just returned and is clearly torn apart from the second room. If the first room works hard, perhaps they can make her stand on their side. Thinking so in my heart, my face became even more enthusiastic. Chao Laishu really doesn't like Mi Qing. As soon as he returned, he stirred the house upside down. But now that she has learned that Mi Qing is a special ability person, she just doesn't like it anymore and knows that Mi Qing's return is unstoppable. Since that's the case, she can't let Mi Qing be attracted by the big house. She restrained the unnecessary expression on her face, regained her composure, and politely declined Wang Jiao's kindness for Mi Qing with a smile on her face. Sister-in-law, Mi Qing is the child I gave birth to in October. I will arrange everything well, so don't worry about sister-in-law, she said. Wang Jiao waved her hand and said, "Ah Sheng is injured, and Uncle Heir is also injured in the waist." She glanced at Li Xian without saying a word, but her expression was obvious. Moreover, we Xian are also special abilities. You may have to worry a bit more. Before the age of 16, we already had a dream, which is really remarkable. Chao Laishu almost couldn't control her gentle and virtuous expression. Dreamers are extremely rare abilities. But she ultimately couldn't enter the realm of emptiness, and could only provide pre-dreams in the rear. Although safe, there is no opportunity. Those with such abilities, among those who prioritize the strong, will ultimately not walk long. Mi Qing's Archivist is equivalent to an encyclopedia of the void realm. She may not be able to fight like Li Xian, but she can enter the realm of emptiness. In the realm of the void, it is crucial to have an archivist like an encyclopedia. Even if she lacks combat power, she will still be a priority protected by other capable individuals. Compared to Li Xian, Mi Qing has a greater impact. How to choose between these two people, even fools understand. But she still wants to be more greedy. For the sake of Li Xing's goodness, she needs both daughters. Not only do they need to, but they also need to pave the way for Li Xing. She looked at Mi Qing with tearful eyes and apologetic words, "Qing, it's been my fault for being so sad these days that no one at home came to pick you up. But you have to believe in me and your father, we have blood ties between us, and we love you." Recruiting interesting professions, welcome everyone to speak freely. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. The Love Between Mother and Daughter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The love between mother and daughter. Mi Qing trembled with goosebumps when she called her by her name, and said to her without hesitation, "Ms. Chow, let's not talk about cheap mother-daughter relationships between us. From beginning to end, you are the one who least wants me to return to the Li family." Although I don't know why Chow Laishu treated her original self so well, according to the development of the novel plot, the malice of everyone in the Li family combined is not as much as that of Chow Laishu. Chow Laishu's face changed and she said, "Qingqing, how could you say that? I am your mother, you are a piece of meat that has fallen from me. There is no mother in the world who doesn't love her child." Mi Qing sneered. Chow Laishu's love was to give it to a group of people to play with when she was 18 years old. This kind of love is not affordable for ordinary people. The plot hasn't happened yet. No matter how much she says, others think it's just Mi Qing causing trouble. Since that's the case, there's nothing to say. She turned her head to look at the trembling Aunt Lin next to her and politely asked, "Where is my room? Could you please take me up?" Aunt Lin hurriedly said, "Miss, this way, please." Mi Qing, carrying her suitcase, easily climbed up the stairs. As she was about to turn, she seemed to remember something and turned to look at the Li family in the living room below with different expressions. She said, "Please confirm my school as soon as possible. If it takes an extra day, I'm afraid your Li family will make more trips to the hospital." According to the plot of the novel, the Li family felt that Genshin Impact was not up to par and allowed him to stay at the Li family for a full 3 months before having the opportunity to go to school. Li Shuihai looks at Li Chongze, who seems to be in a coma after hearing the words, and looks at Chow Laishu, who dodges his eyes. He doesn't understand that these two people only moved Mi Qing's registered residence back, but they didn't find a school for Mi Qing, and they were broken by Mi Qing. This situation is exhausting for him. He suppressed his anger and nodded with a smile, "I'll have your uncle help you contact me in a while. You can go to school tomorrow morning." Li Chonggue thought this was a good opportunity and said, "Your second brother is currently studying at Tianxian College. Tianxian College has an affiliated high school, and since you are capable, you can also go there to study. Tianxian College is the only capable college in Tianxian country, recruiting individuals aged 18 and above. There are several affiliated high schools under its name, among which there is one in Hanshui City called Tianwan Middle School." Initially, Li Yao attended Tianwan Middle School. Mi Qing has no objection to where to go to school, as long as she can attend. Thanks to Li Chonggue, she went upstairs. When her figure disappeared on the second floor, Li Shuihai gave a faint glance at Li Xian and said to Li Chonggue, "We need 2 spots and send Li Xian in as well." The mindset changes, and the address also changes accordingly. Li Chonggue agreed and glanced at Li Xian, who was silent and lowered his head. He heard the sound of an ambulance coming from outside and quickly escorted Li Chongze and Li Xing away. He also watched as Li Xian and Chow Laishu followed them to the hospital, and sent Li Hui to handle hospital affairs. Finally, he breathed a sigh of relief and walked back. As a result, as soon as he entered the hall, he heard a chaotic sound coming from the 3rd floor and was taken aback. Glancing at the old man sitting in the living room with a cold face, he quickly gave Wang Jiao a glance. The latter was clear and prepared to go upstairs, but didn't expect Aunt Lin to come down trembling. "What's wrong?" Wang Jiao quickly asked. Aunt Lin felt lingering palpitations and quickly whispered, "The room arranged by Madame Eyre for Miss is at the end of the 3rd floor on the right side." The room at the end on the right side of the 3rd floor is Li Xian's instrument room. The space is not large and is filled with various musical instruments. Now that only one bed has been added, there is not much tidying up at all. Wang Jiao. She had a headache in her forehead, and this time she really didn't expect Chow Laishu to arrange such a room for Mi Qing. In the corner of her gaze, Li Shuihai's face darkened and she quickly asked, "Now?" Aunt Lin was about to cry without tears, "Now the lady has set her sights on the best ventilated room. The room with the best ventilation happens to be where Li Xian lives. Now, Mi Qing didn't feel tired and threw out all of Li Xian's belongings. Wang Jiao has a headache even more. Li Xian is also a capable person now, and Mi Qing is doing this. She looked at Li Shuihai and asked cautiously, "Dad, look at this." Li Shuihai said, "She can live as she likes. Whatever you need, just be satisfied." He was angry about Li Xian's concealment and deception. Mi Qing did this so that Li Xian could take a look. Only with the Li family can there be her Li Xian. Without the Li family, what can Li Xian have? Wang Jiao understood and instructed Aunt Lin, "Go and take a look. If Miss needs anything else, just go and arrange it." Aunt Lin really doesn't want to do such an offensive thing, but as things have progressed to this day, she can also see it. As long as Mi Qing is a capable individual, the Li family will not refute her reasonable demands. Moreover, what Mi Qing is interested in is Li Xian's room, which does not affect the interests of others. Who would really stand up for Li Xian? So Aunt Lin didn't have any free time all night. Firstly, she helped to empty the room, and then because Mi Qing disliked the dirty things that Li Xian had used, she helped contact the furniture company overnight to deliver the goods to her doorstep and replace the entire furniture in Li Xian's room with new ones. Afterwards, we need to contact the person who changed the lock to replace the door lock in the room, and also help us watch as we purchase new clothes and so on. After a series of operations, no one in the entire Li family could fall asleep. The next morning, Mi Qing was once again mentally prepared to go to school. Despite being awakened under the panda's eyes, Li Chongui suppressed his anger and personally took Mi Qing to report to Tianwan Middle School. Finally arranging everything properly, he went back to catch up on his sleep on the other side of the hospital. Chao Laishu and Li Xian were speechless. After a long silence, Chao Laishu took the initiative to ask, Xian, why are you going to see her? Is she really what you dreamed of?" The expression on Li Xian's face was gloomy. "I'm afraid you want her to leave me. I'm very anxious, so I'll go take a look." "But Mom, I absolutely didn't want to stop her from returning to the Li family. I know she's your biological daughter, and blood ties cannot be broken. But I can't control it, I'm afraid." She burst into tears, deeply ingrained in the biography of Chao Laishu. Tears drop by drop, making people feel pitiful. But across from her is Chao Laishu, who knows if her tears are real or fake. For a long time, she smiled softly and said, "I know. Xin, no one can replace you. You have been by our side for 15 years, and even without blood ties, our family bond cannot be severed." "Mom." Li Xian threw herself into Chao Laishu's arms, suppressed and wept bitterly, regretting the fact that she had kept it a secret from Chao Laishu that she was a person with special abilities. If she had known that Mi Qing would have had such an attitude towards the Li family, she would have chosen a more favorable way to advance the plot. Not to be like this now, shattering her good impression of managing the Li family in one fell swoop. But as long as someone continues to support her, it's never too late. But Li Xian didn't see it. Chao Laishu's face was smiling, but her eyes were cold. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The Disaster of a Solar Eclipse. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. The Disaster of a Solar Eclipse. It's November now, and the second half of the semester at Tianwan Middle School has been over 2 months. She came in as a transfer student and was assigned to class 14 of grade 11. Tianwan Middle School is a comprehensive college with both reserve students and regular students. It can be said that not all students in Hanshui City will study at Tianwan Middle School, but students in the reserve of psychics must study at Tianwan Middle School. So, the quota at Tianwan Middle School is very tight. After the start of the school year, those who want to switch classes are mostly reserve members of psychics. Therefore, in the eyes of class 4 of grade 1, Mi Qing is considered a superpower. At the end of the two classes and during the break time, the little girl in the front row of Mi Qing turned to greet her and said, "Are you called Li Mi Qing? My name is Li Xiaoping, and this is Ding Mo. Your desk mate didn't come today, so he took personal leave." Li Xiaoping is a cute and round-looking girl, with a deep purple birthmark the size of an eye on her left eyebrow and eye, which disrupts her appearance. Ding Mo is a thin and weak child wearing glasses, looking as if he is malnourished, unlike a child aged 15 or 16. He secretly glanced at Mi Qing and smiled shyly. What Mi Qing said before at the Li family is true. Her emotions are not overwhelming and she is not good at making friends. But considering how many friends Qin Hui still has, she can't always be alone. Moreover, according to her understanding, the Archivist is a clerk and needs reliable teammates to play a greater role. So, she needs to have reliable teammates. Thinking of this, she greeted and chatted with the two of them happily. As for her name, the Li family only added a Li character before Mi Qing in order to save trouble, without any intention of changing her name properly. Seeing Mi Qing's enthusiastic attitude, Li Xiaoping and Ding Mo were clearly pleased and spoke more. In just 7 or 8 minutes, Mi Qing had already received the message she wanted. Li Xiaoping is a weapons officer who activated his arsenal at the age of 13. The arsenal, literally, has a wide variety of cold weapons, hot weapons, nuclear weapons, and so on. But currently, Li Xiaoping's arsenal is unstable, and he can only summon 2 cold weapons. After the age of 16, the arsenal will be completely stable and weapons can be summoned at will. Of course, the number of weapon types is directly proportional to her level. Ding Mo was a beast tamer. When his little dog passed away at the age of 14, he summoned him as a beast tamer. Overall, Mi Qing was very surprised. Especially Li Xiaoping's arsenal is very important to her. So, it was easy for psychologically mature Mi Qing to gain the trust of 2 boys and girls under the age of 16. Talking to the two, Mi Qing also received more information about plane invasion. 9 years ago, a solar eclipse occurred and different planes invaded, creating a void realm. Nearly half of humanity died from that invasion. So, the plane invasion 9 years ago was called the disaster of a solar eclipse. The disaster of the solar eclipse has ended, and among the surviving humans, capable individuals have emerged. Capable individuals have a chance of 1 out of 10,000 people, but their numbers are too small. The battle against the void realm lasted for nearly 5 years, and only then did they have the current slightly peaceful transition period. Until now, the establishment of major security bases has ensured that humanity can continue to reproduce. Meanwhile, research has found that teenagers aged 10 to 16 are a high-risk group for individuals with disabilities. As a result, Tianxian Kingdom established Tianxian Academy to recruit students with teaching abilities. Unlike other countries, the control of Tianxian Kingdom still lies in the hands of ordinary leaders. 60% of the capable people in the country have joined the military to protect the people of Tianxian. Like before the disaster of a solar eclipse, soldiers are still the most trusted existence of the people. The remaining 40% of the capable individuals are either rebellious solo travelers or employees of aristocratic families. This kind of existence has existed from ancient times to the present. But in times of chaos, it's even more remarkable. In addition to these, there are currently 189 types of capable individuals included in the database of capable individuals. According to big data analysis, individuals with different abilities have different classifications. More detailed information on capable individuals requires starting a new tutorial after the age of 16. For example, the sophomore students at Tianwan High School are divided into 3 departments: Science, Humanities, and Aptitude subjects. The first 2 departments don't need to be explained much, everyone understands. The Department of Only Capable Individuals has added many courses on basic information about capable individuals. The second and third years of high school are the 2 years when capable individuals lay a foundation. Students majoring in science and humanities need to take the college entrance examination, while students majoring in abilities need to participate not only in the college entrance examination, but also in the year-end assessment for abilities. The location of this year-end assessment is in the void. In addition to these, Mi Qing also learned that there are 83 void realms in Xiangua today. Within thousands of meters outside the base of Hanshui City, there are 7 void realms. According to the current investigation, there are 2 different types of monsters in the void. The first type is the void spirit. They are powerful and can pollute people's spirits, making them become fanatical followers of the void spirit and thus betray humanity. The second type is ethereal. Although equally powerful in force, it can pollute the occupied space and expand the area of the void. The void spirit poses a great threat to humanity, while the void spirit poses a great threat to the human living environment. These two coexist, constantly compressing the environment for human survival. Finally, Li Xiaoping spoke firmly, "When my year-end assessment is over, I must join the army." Her arsenal is only effective in the hands of soldiers who know more about weapons. People with civilian abilities still lack knowledge of weapons. Moreover, although she is capable, she can only provide weapon assistance. In the civilian team, it may not be easy to get along. Ding Yimo pushed his glasses, with a firm attitude and an indelible hatred in his eyes. "As long as you can kill those void spirits, any team is fine," he said. The two of them made a statement and looked at Mi Qing together. Before Mi Qing could speak, Wei Yan, who came in through the back door, heard the two of them and sneered, "Just the two of you still want to join the army? Do you rely on your poor weapons or on your timid little dog?" In one sentence, he ridiculed 2 people in minutes. "Wei Yan, our abilities and talents are not as good as yours, but we can also play a corresponding role. As a young lady, why confront us in every way?" Li Xiaograpes retorted with a stern expression. Ding Mo is somewhat introverted, but not timid. Especially when Wei Yan once again mocked his little dog, he retorted coldly, "She targets us everywhere, nothing more than because Shirgu would rather sit next to us than be her desk mate. You seek death." Being called to break Xiaoxinci, Wei Yan became angry and embarrassed. With a movement of her feet, little stars condensed and were instantly illuminated. The starlight exploded and rushed towards Ding Mo's forehead. "Wei Yan, you're crazy." Li Xiaogrape's color changed and his voice was sharp. The rest of the students who were resting in the class exclaimed, completely unaware that Wei Yan would use the abilities of a star dancer to harm her classmates in the class. Ding Mo instinctively wanted to summon the little dog, but was stopped by Xingsheng. His little dog is only 2 months old and cannot resist the attacks of the star dancer. He raised his hand to cover his eyes and prepared to resist the blow. His eyes were filled with a bone-chilling chill. Mi Qing. Another day to stir up trouble for the Li family. Happy end of this chapter. Chapter 6. Fighting and Fighting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Fighting and Fighting. Bang. But the expected attack did not fall on him. He only heard a loud noise, screams, and the screams of others. Ding Mo was stunned and put down his arm that covered his eyes. He saw Wei Yan sliding down from the back door, clutching her abdomen and limping on the ground, howling uncontrollably. Meanwhile, Mi Qing in the back seat slowly withdrew her stiff legs and said with a faint expression, "I'm sorry, my leg has cramped." After kicking someone twice in just 2 days, she felt like she needed to make up for it. It's best to kick someone 7 or 8 meters away next time. She felt that in such a magical world of novels, she could do it. Puff. Li Xiaoping was first frightened by Wei Yan's attack, then by Mi Qing's foot, and then by Mi Qing's attitude of laughing at him. You. Wei Yan was both surprised and angry. With one hand covering the cramped stomach and the other finger pointing at Mi Qing, his face was full of malice. Mi Qing lowered her eyes. Young people's values are not yet mature enough, they can be innocent and innocent, or they can be ruthless and ruthless. The verbal conflict between classmates can escalate into a fight at any time. And those with abilities will be even more so. A word that doesn't agree may lead to bloodshed and death. The atmosphere was stagnant, and a classmate called for the homeroom teacher to come. The homeroom teacher of class 14 in grade 11 is a middle-aged male teacher, surnamed Chen, who is also an ordinary person. Wei Yan was sent to the school clinic due to frequent cries of pain. And Mi Qing and the 3 others were taken outside. Teacher Chen is a serious person who has already understood the whole story on the way here. Wei Yan started by using special abilities, and it was her fault. The school will take disciplinary action. Teacher Chen gave Wei Yan sex and then looked at the new student Li Miqing who had just transferred today. Li Miqing intervened in time to block Wei Yan's attack. It is true that she saved her classmates, but it is also true that she injured Wei Yan. In the world, right is right, wrong is wrong, and there is no right or wrong balance. Li Miqing, do you agree? Ding Mo was anxious and said, Teacher Chen, this matter is not related to Li Miqing. It's my fault, Teacher Chen raised his hand to stop Ding Mo's words and still looked at Mi Qing. Mi Qing was very surprised. Tianwan Middle School doesn't seem to have any intention of making peace. She nodded and said, Teacher Chen is right. If right and wrong can be balanced, one day I want to kill someone. Can we just save someone the day before yesterday? Teacher Chen is very satisfied with Mi Qing's attitude, but is not satisfied with the example given by Mi Qing. Li Mi Qing, the words of killing should not be lightly spoken. Mi Qing actively admits her mistakes and has a good attitude. So, Mi Qing's final punishment was to write 1,000 words of self-reflection. As for Ding Mo and Li Xiaoping, due to their verbal dispute with Wei Yan, which led to this incident, they also need to write a review. Watching Teacher Chen leave, Ding Mo and Li Xiaoping breathed a sigh of relief. Writing only about self-criticism without taking disciplinary action is really unlucky. And Wei Yan, I'm afraid she won't be able to escape the punishment of leaving a file. It will be difficult to join the army if a person with special abilities is given a disciplinary record. Ding Mo looked at Mi Qing and thanked him seriously, thank you. He didn't guarantee anything extra. But it has been decided in his heart that in the future, no matter what, he will remember today's life-saving kindness. Mi Qing waved her hand and said, it's a small matter. Fighting is too easy to control for those with unstable abilities. With a slight use of force, one can persuade a fight. Li Xiaoping was excited and said, Mi Qing, I see how handsome your kick looks. The scene where Wei Yan was kicked away scared me so much that I almost screamed. Have you practiced this before? Mi Qing nodded without saying much, but still defended herself. My foot seemed to have a lot of strength, but in fact it wasn't. I don't even need to prescribe drugs to promote blood circulation and remove blood stasis. Just ease it up a bit. That's good. Wei Yan's family has a background, so we can't do anything at school, but we can still be outdone outside, Li Xiaoping said quickly, reminding Mi Qing to be careful in the future. Is that right? Mi Qing chuckled, if she wants to cause trouble, just let her come to me. My family is big, so we don't necessarily have to suffer losses. It's really delightful to find something to do for the Li family. Li Xiaoping widened her eyes and said, wow, aren't we holding on to another pair of thighs? Her words were like this, but her eyes remained clear and not very excited about it. Ding Mo was originally worried that Mi Qing would suffer losses, but upon hearing this, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. In short, you have to be extremely careful. Wei Yan has a small heart, and this time you hurt her with your hand. Plus, since you are Shi Ji's desk mate, she may even target you in the future. If you can't do anything to you at school, you're afraid of putting pressure on you and your family outside. Brother Shi. Mi Qing was not worried about Wei Yan. Anyway, she won't have any problems herself. As for the Li family, the more unlucky it is, the better. However, she is very curious about the Zhiduo that frequently appears in the mouths of Li Xiaoping and the others. Li Xiaoping led the two of them back to the classroom and greeted other classmates who were inquiring about the situation. He hesitated and quickly took the last break to introduce Mi Qing. Shiji's full name is Cin Shiyu, who is your desk mate. He is also a capable person, and he is a marksman with stable abilities who is not yet 16 years old. All long-range weapons in his hand seem to have been given life, very powerful. She looked around and lowered her voice, he looks so handsome. She said, and even stabbed Ding Mo to make him testify. Ding Mo coughed and said, it's our school grass. Mi Qing let out a perfunctory exclamation, so Wei Yan likes censure and... Oh my, said the young man, who was only 15 years old, feeling shy when it came to topics he liked. Even Li Xiaoping, who was carefree, couldn't help feeling shy. I don't know if she liked it or not. Anyway, she wanted to move over and sit with Brother Shi several times, but Brother Shi didn't want to, and there were even a few significant disturbances in between. Upon hearing this, Mi Qing was worried and said, so, should I sit here? Li Xiaopei promised, you're so beautiful, you may not look up to our Shige. Shige is good friends, as long as he doesn't have any selfishness, he is very easy to get along with. Look at me and Ding Mo, Shige is also very protective of us. She touched the birthmark on her face and smiled bitterly. Upon hearing this, Mi Qing touched her face and jokingly said, I didn't expect you to think my face looks good. I thought you were initially interested in my personality charm. She even sighed exaggeratedly. Li Xiaoping chuckled and said, at first, we didn't know what kind of personality charm you had. Now, we're all impressed by your personality charm. Ding Mo nodded in agreement, I'm impressed. After some teasing, it's time for class. The last two classes of Wei Yan never appeared. She actually wanted to go for an injury examination, but under the examination in the school clinic, Mi Qing's foot did not harm her organs, and there was not even bruise left on her abdomen. The only area with bruises is still the one where my elbow hit the door and bruised before. Wei Yan did not believe in the examination conducted by the school clinic and notified her family to take her to the hospital for an injury examination. When she calmed down, she knew that today's situation might be difficult to handle. She didn't want to be detained for punishment, so she was able to reduce the impact of the incident as a victim. So, this injury must be tested, and an inevitable result must also be tested. Mi Qing. Another day of stirring up trouble, double happiness. The previous chapters have been modified to supplement the content in some settings of the novel's plot. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Evolution Direction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Evolution Direction. Teacher Chen looked serious and did not refuse Wei Yan's reasonable request. But just in case, he explained this to the school and went to the hospital with Wei Yan. Nowadays, privileges are indeed very useful at certain times. But for Tianwan Middle School, which has Tianxian College as its backing, any privileges are not useful. As he said today, in school, right is right, wrong is wrong. Any falsehood cannot occur between students. On the other end, the morning class ended and everyone went home separately. At the school gate, watching as Mi Qing was picked up by a special car, Li Xiaoping suddenly exclaimed, so, what is Mi Qing's ability? Ding Mo. Good guy. Suddenly realizing it, both of them had their foundations figured out, but they didn't even know what Mi Qing's abilities were. It's amazing. For several consecutive days, the people in the second room of the Li family have been recuperating in the hospital. Li Xian didn't know that his room was occupied by Mi Qing until he returned home on the fourth day. He wanted to make trouble, but he was quietly suppressed by Li Shuihai. Li Xian suddenly realized. She can pretend to be pitiful in front of Chao Laishu, but she cannot pretend to be pitiful in front of the Li Shuici. His clear gaze almost coincided with Mi Qing's gaze at her, making her embarrassed and panicked. At this moment, she understood. Before the identity of Mi Qing as a capable person was exposed, the Li family was willing to cater to her because she had been trained by the Li family for 15 years and had not received the expected rewards, not because of her personality. Recognizing the essence of the Li family, Li Xian's scalp tingled. She knows how to find excuses to defend herself, but it's difficult to salvage the views of the Li family towards her, so she can't defend herself and can only obediently admit her mistake. Because she is still underage, she cannot be kicked out of the Li family now. Looking at Li Xian's pitiful expression of bowing her head and admitting her mistake, Li Shuihai's eyes remained calm. Xian, everyone makes mistakes, and a person's life is about constantly making mistakes and improving. Grandpa sincerely hopes that you will become better and better because of the guidance of the Li family. Li Xian looked up at Li Shuihai with tears in her eyes and whispered, "Grandpa, do you still recognize me?" Li Shuihai affectionately touched Li Xian's head and said, "How could I not recognize you? You, relax and stay at the Li family. However, we ultimately owe Mi Qing. She has a strong personality, and I'm afraid she will have to mistreat you." Not aggrieved, Li Xian shook her head, wiping away the tears from her face and turning into a smile. "As long as Grandpa recognizes me, I won't be aggrieved." Li Shuihai. Good child. Mi Qing went downstairs to drink water and happened to see the scene of your kindness and filial piety towards me. Ignoring Li Shuihai and Li Xian's embarrassment, Mi Qing calmly drank water and said to Aunt Lin in the kitchen, "Please help me make a bowl of clear noodles in soup." Aunt Lin responded and got busy. Mi Qing sat on the dining table with plain water, brushing her phone. As for the grandfather and grandson in the living room, she completely ignored them. Li Xian's hands hanging on her side clenched tightly, and no matter how angry she was, she knew she couldn't show it. She restrained her previous pitiful posture and obediently said, "Grandpa, I'll go upstairs first. Her room is gone, so let's choose another one." Unexpectedly, Mi Qing looked up at Li Xian and said, "Li Xian, you live in the instrument room at the end of the 3rd floor. You." Li Xian warned herself countless times to endure. She, who is only 15 years old, has been repeatedly provoked by Mi Qing, and she can't bear it. Mi Qing looked at her angry gaze with a calm expression and said, "If you don't want to, I can help you find your biological parents. You can also take a gamble, maybe your biological parents are even more remarkable than the Li family." In the plot of the novel, Mi Qing lived in a room filled with various musical instruments from returning to the Li family until her death. Mi Qing can live, so should Li Xian. Unexpectedly, Mi Qing would say such a thing. Li Xian dared not gamble on the possibility of that half, and suddenly showed timidity. She looked at Li Shuihai for help. Li Shuihai wanted to teach Li Xian a lesson, but not so much. Qing, Xian's body. Mi Qing stood up and looked at Li Shuihai, "Mr. Li, why did you keep me at the Li family? We both know it well. Do you want to take advantage of it for every penny? With such a big face. I think what you said earlier was good. Not only am I strong-willed, but I also seek revenge. As long as Li Xian is with the Li family, she will have to endure the injustice I have caused her." Her words fell, and for a moment, the atmosphere was tense. Aunt Lin in the kitchen wished she could resign immediately, but the remuneration given by the Li family was too much for her to bear. Looking at Li Shuihai's calm face without refuting Mi Qing, Li Xian knew that in this competition, Mi Qing had won again. She was unwilling, angry, but also understood a little. As long as she stays with the Li family for a day, she cannot escape the bullying of Mi Qing. But now, without any reliance, she can only admit it. But in the end, she still didn't want to give in. "Grandpa, don't be too serious with her. I live in the instrument room at the end of the 3rd floor." Li Xian gave Li Shuihai a step down. The latter sighed, Then you go up first, what's missing? Before he could finish speaking, he noticed Mi Qing's fierce gaze and finally stopped speaking. Feeling frustrated and constrained by a younger generation, it is also known that capable individuals are the ultimate goal. If the Li family wants to go further, neither Li Xian nor Mi Qing can give up. Li Xian is okay to say, but Mi Qing, who is soft and hard to eat and has no obvious weakness, is really helpless against her. Li Xian didn't know Li Shuihai's inner thoughts, but seeing that he couldn't even offer verbal comfort because Mi Qing couldn't express it, she felt cold. The scenes of being loved in the past are like flowing water to the east, unforgettable. Before she left, she looked at Mi Qing carefully and asked, Mi Qing, it was my fault for what happened before. But that day, my dream saw you bullying me and everything, and I was really scared. That's why. Mi Qing rolled her eyes and said, pre-dreamers before the age of 16 are capable of pre-dreaming, but when they see the ability of only capable people, why should I bully you in everything? Li Xian shook her head and said, no, my dream is quite special, it. Mi Qing. Yes, your dream is indeed special. Not only can you see the abilities of the capable, but you can also judge the value of the capable, right? You. Li Xian panicked, why would you know? You. Mi Qing interrupted her and said, you've already asked me this question once before, she said with a smile on her face. So I'll tell you one more thing. Archivist, an encyclopedia known as the Void Realm. Your dream is different from others' dream, how can you be sure that my file won't evolve in any other direction? Li Xian retreated and collapsed on the sofa, looking incredulous. Mi Qing approached step by step, bent down and pinched Li Xian's chin with one hand, staring into her frightened and uneasy eyes. She smiled and said, your dream tells you that my value is very high. But don't you think, even if an ordinary archivist's value is high, where can it go? Today, I'll tell you something. Your dream, in my opinion, is just a joke. As long as I think about what you think and do, you have no escape. Encyclopedia is never just an encyclopedia of a certain kind of thing. Why don't you guess what kind of existence a capable person is in my eyes? Mi Qing. Successfully stirred up discord again, happy, end of this chapter. Chapter 8. Zhiduo approaches demons. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Zhiduo approaches demons. Li Xian followed her words carefully and couldn't believe it. It's impossible. Mi Qing sneered, shook off her chin, and slowly wiped her hands with a tissue. She didn't look at Li Xian, who was about to collapse, but at the stunned Li Shuihai. Old man, have you finished recording? Li Shuihai's hand stiffened behind him, and his phone almost fell to the ground. This is the first time he has come to a clear realization that 15-year-old Mi Qing, Zhiduo, is close to a demon. Seeing the calmness in Mi Qing's eyes, Li Shuihai's mouth was bitter. Having lived for most of his life, at this moment he understood that Mi Qing had no emotional attachment to the Li family. After listening to her words just now, even if he understood, he couldn't let go. The Li family needs a sign like Mi Qing, even in name. He threw his phone into a transparent vase filled with water next to him, expressing his attitude, Mi Qing, as long as you don't want it, your abilities won't be exposed. The Li family will work tirelessly for you, just for a little, to protect the Li family. Mi Qing looked carefully at Li Shuihai and realized that his words were true. In the plot of the novel, Li Shuihai is selfish. As long as anyone can bring benefits to the Li family, he can abandon everything. It's like Li Xian getting a favor from the Li family because of his pre-dream mutation ability, so he allowed Li Xian to perform spiritual PUA on her original body. Nowadays, Mi Qing's value is greater than that of Li Xian, so he can abandon Li Xian, who has been loved for 15 years, and only wish Mi Qing to protect the Li family. Mi Qing chuckled. She realized that the members of the crazy demons in the aristocratic family really looked like they were printed from the same mold. When she saw Li Shuihai, she couldn't help but think of the senior parent of the Mi family who made her deeply disgusted. Her expression turned cold, and she suddenly lost interest. You can do whatever you like. As for protecting the Li family, why don't you pray to the Li family not to provoke me? She went to the kitchen to fetch noodles and went upstairs on her own. As for the Li family, don't provoke her, I'm afraid it won't work. Not to mention Li Xian, but to mention Chao Lishu's inexplicable hatred towards her original body, this matter is not over. She didn't understand that Chao Lishu was indeed the biological mother of her original body, but why did she have such great malice towards her original body? Even on the day of her original adulthood, designing to humiliate a girl. If I don't understand, I might as well not think about it. But if Chao Lishu dares to follow the original plot, Mi Qing doesn't mind helping her. Watching Mi Qing calmly go upstairs, Li Shuihai's face changed and he couldn't help but feel uneasy. He doesn't understand why Mi Qing would refuse the convenience offered by the Li family. Capable individuals are not omnipotent. Those who lack the ability to grow require various resources to cultivate. With a family present, those with abilities will walk more smoothly. But why would she refuse? Why does she have such a strong opinion towards the Li family? Isn't it because I didn't raise her because I hugged her wrong back then? Is this not the fault of the Li family? Why does she care so much about everything? The anger towards Mi Qing, which was originally only 5 points in my heart, has now completely escalated to 10. His expression turned cold. Since Mi Qing is so ignorant, don't blame him for not considering blood and family ties. After Li Xian regained her senses, she caught a glimpse of the sinister glint in Li Shuihai's eyes. She was startled in her heart and quickly lowered her head in disguise. Then, there was another surprise. Perhaps, without her intervention, Mi Qing would completely disappear from her world the next morning. Mi Qing went to school. Watching the Li family villa gradually disappear from view in the rearview mirror, I couldn't help but feel regretful. It seems that she needs to change places. Yesterday's instigation was successful, and even if the Li family and Li Xian could coexist, they would still harbor resentment in the future. By Li Shuihai's means, Li Xian, who had exposed her thoughts too early, was afraid that she might not be his opponent. Her purpose for this trip was achieved, but yesterday she instigated too much. If you think from a different perspective, Mi Qing will never stop doing two things. She didn't think Li Shuihai would kindly let her go, so she couldn't stay in the Li family. However, there are only two ways for minors to get rid of their registered residence. The first type is to join a family that is more powerful than the Li family. The second type is people who become a country early on. A noble family, Mi Qing doesn't like it. In her previous life, she had enough. If she were to follow the old path in this life, she would go even crazier. So, she can only choose the second option. Knocking on the car window, Mi Qing noticed the driver and said, "Please stop at the intersection ahead." "Miss, it's getting late," the driver hinted. Mi Qing. "Uncle, I remember you only took the driver's money." The driver remained silent for a few seconds, then stopped at the intersection ahead and watched as Mi Qing got off the bus and got on the bus. He thought of Aunt Lin's words and knew that Mi Qing was a very thoughtful person. He doesn't want to get involved in the internal disputes of the Li family, so he plans to take a walk outside and wait until he clicks before going back. On the other end, Mi Qing took a bus to the destination of this trip, the reception desk of the Gui department in Hanshui City. But before entering, she has to take leave. Mi Qing, who repeatedly assured Teacher Chen that she had not been troubled by the Wei family, received a 2-hour short leave. Then, she walked into the entrance of the reception desk of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and found the staff in the hall. She spoke with a thunderous sound on the ground. "I think someone is going to kill me. Yin Xiaopei. She looked up at Mi Qing and confirmed that she was a half-year-old child, but did not ignore her words just because she was a child. She cautiously asked, "Little sister, what is your name? Where do you live at home?" What are the adults in the family? She asked questions with a gentle attitude and asked her colleagues to contact her. The reception office of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs deals with the affairs of capable individuals and is not responsible for disputes involving ordinary people, so it has to be handled by the leverage team. Mi Qing reported the relevant information and added, I think those who want to kill me are my nominal family members. En Xiaopei. She comforted Mi Qing with a faint smile and said, Little sister, we must pay attention to evidence in everything. Mi Qing sighed, I am a capable person. En Xiaopei. But I haven't reached the age yet and haven't practiced it. Li Xian said, I'm an archivist. Oh, Li Xian is a pre-dreamer and seems to have evolved. She dreamt that I seem to be an evolving archivist and she wants to PUA me. Then, the one who wants to kill me is the old man from the Li family. Yesterday, I had a face with him. Why would I tear my face apart? Because I refused to cooperate with him and threatened him. Mi Qing's subsequent words made En Xiaopei's heart skip a beat. Her friendly smile couldn't be sustained and she called out to her superiors. This matter seems quite tricky and she can't handle it. Then, Mi Qing was invited into the office, along with a glass of plain water. Mi Qing smiled obediently. She knows that people outside are definitely investigating her identity now. She is a good law-abiding child who is not afraid of being investigated from top to bottom. About 40 minutes later, a middle-aged man pushed the door in, holding a document in his hand. Mi Qing stood up and let the other party's scrutiny take her in a dignified manner. Young Zhiduo saw that Mi Qing was not at all restrained, and a deep smile appeared on his face. He waved his hand to let her sit down before saying, Mi Qing, right. I am Yang Zhiduo, Deputy Director of the External Reception Department of the Gui Department in Hanshui City. Mi Qing. How close is intelligence to demons? No, I just rely on the plot of novels to deceive people. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Legitimate Defense. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Legitimate Defense. Deputy Yang, Mi Qing glanced at the document, and the first one was the copy of his registered residence. She sighed in her heart, truly worthy of being a national department, this speed is fast. You know, she hasn't seen her registered residence since she was moved to Li family. Young Zhiduo came straight to the point and said, we have already conducted a simple investigation into your matter. Can you explain in detail why you think Li Shuihai is going to kill you? Li Xian will PUA you. This matter is simple. Mi Qing provided a clear and straightforward account of what happened when she returned to the Li family from beginning to end, without adding her own opinions. In conclusion, after my exploration, Li Xian is the dreamer of evolution, and I am the archivist of evolution. I estimate that I am very useful to her. From the first step I took into the Li family, she has already started PUA. She walked into the Li family and heard the comforting words from the Li family towards Li Xian, which were not just simple words of comfort, but a warning from Li Xian to Mi Qing. In order to let Mi Qing know that she is not as important as her fake daughter to the Li family. But unfortunately, I returned to the Li family because my registered residence was moved back, not to get the approval of anyone in the Li family. Her demotion is useless to me. The original Mi Qing in the story is the beginning of a PUA. Young Zhiduo's expression was unpredictable, and there was no sign of approval or disapproval of Mi Qing's speculation. He only stated the fact, that night, the father and son of the second wife of the Li family were both hospitalized. Mi Qing. Oh, I fought, just for self-defense. Young Zhiduo twitched at the corners of his mouth and scanned Mi Qing's thin arms and legs. However, he did not expect her to gain an advantage over an adult man, indicating that her physical condition was not weak. For capable individuals, regardless of their ability, physical fitness is the most important. Mi Qing has done this very well. Regarding the dispute between you and Li Shuihai last night. Yang Zhizhou flipped to the end of the information, which detailed the dialogue and even action descriptions between Mi Qing, Li Shuihai, and Li Xian. Do you think your archivist's evolutionary direction is to be able to learn detailed information about the supernatural? Mi Qing glanced at the information openly and honestly. In just half an hour, she was able to describe the details of her dispute with Li Shuihai and the others in written form, which is definitely beyond the reach of ordinary people. A bold guess is that someone with the ability in this area participated. I fooled Li Xian. According to the original plot, the original archivist did indeed evolve. The direction of evolution is absolutely rare, it is a random ability to replicate any living creature in one's own archive. This means that the original identity of the archivist can also participate in the war, and the combat power is estimated to be not low. Yang Zhizhou looked at her, the latter avoiding his gaze and saying, "The direction you're fooling is very interesting." Mi Qing. Thank you. Yang Zhizhou sighed in his heart. At a young age, Mi Qing speaks and does everything without any leakage, unlike a 15-year-old child. But precisely because of this, he cannot underestimate her. He asked sternly, "So are you going to join the Ministry of Foreign Affairs now?" Mi Qing. Yes. You should know that you are still underage and there are many restrictions on joining the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Yang Zhizhou said. Mi Qing smiled lightly and said, "I believe in the ability of my country's father." One sentence blocked Yang Zhizhou's words. He fixed his gaze on Mi Qing for a while, shook his head and chuckled, "I now believe that Li Shuihai does have a motive to kill you. A person with the ability to be more intelligent and close to demons cannot be used for themselves, and may even threaten their own safety. Therefore, based on the concept of a noble family, there is indeed no need to exist." Mi Qing shrugged and said, "Who made them not have the patience to influence me?" Upon hearing this, Yang Zhizhou glanced at her and stood up, saying, "Wait a little longer. Someone will come to pick you up later." Mi Qing. Could Deputy Yang please help me take a leave from Teacher Chen? I only took 2 hours. Okay, Yang Zhizhou closed the door and left, with a restrained smile on his face. Feng Cheng, who was guarding the door, followed him and whispered as he walked, "Deputy, what did she mean by the phrase, 'influence me,' she just said? I always feel meaningful, but I can't figure it out." Yang Zhizhou sighed. Take a look at Feng Cheng, who is 26 years old, and then think about Mi Qing, who is 15 years old. He is tired, but he still needs to explain. There are 2 things she means. Firstly, she explains why she has been against the Li family since she first returned. Secondly, she reveals to us that even if she joins the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, she should not be asked to be loyal in the short term. Feng Cheng. I don't understand. Yu Gongbi, who was following behind the two, interjected, because she is suspicious, anxious, and emotionally lacking. Doubt and worry, and be 100% cautious of everyone. Emotional deficiency, she cannot trust others, and others may also not trust her. Ah. Feng Cheng became even more puzzled. Since that's the case, she can't even guarantee the most basic loyalty. Why does our foreign ministry still want her? Yang Zhizhou didn't want to speak, and Yu Gongbi could only explain, because of her value. She guessed the direction of her evolution, which is of great research value to us. Feng Cheng. Didn't she say she was fooling people? At this moment, Yu Gongbi didn't want to speak either. My colleague is too silly and cute, he wants to change colleagues. Yang Zhizhou glared at Feng Cheng and said, "Do you think every word she says about such a smart person is unfounded?" Feng Cheng understands. That is to say, the evolutionary direction of Mi Qing's abilities is really possible as she said. Every word she says has a profound meaning. My goodness, is she really only 15 years old? Yang Zhizhou looked up and sighed deeply. If your IQ is half that of her, I don't have to worry about it anymore. Feng Cheng said. Deputy, when speaking, it's better to speak than to be attacked by others. Yan Zhiduo quickened his pace and discussed with others how to deal with Mi Qing's matter. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs acted quickly at the reception office, and by the time Mi Qing finished school in the evening, she had already found a new residence. Unju Community, Mingsan Road, Tongbei District, Hanshui City. This is the family building of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The environment can only be considered first-class, but security is definitely top-notch. Feng Qing followed Yugongbi to deliver Mi Qing home and recognized the way. Because you live alone, the office has applied for a small 2-bedroom apartment with 2 bedrooms, 1 living room, 1 kitchen, and 1 bathroom. You have furniture and everything, just move in with your bag. In name, it's a small 2nd bedroom, but it's quite spacious for 1 person. The decoration style is simple and elegant, which Mi Qing really likes. Sincere thanks. Do you need anything else? By the way, do you need an hour's work? Responsible for your meals and household chores, Feng Qing asked quickly, recalling Yang's advice. After thinking for a moment, Mi Qing said, as long as I work for an hour to clean the house. If I don't mind the 2nd master, I'll trouble my older brother and sister to help. Feng Qing looked at Mi Qing and couldn't imagine how quickly she left after stirring up the Li family. She responded and tentatively asked, do you have anything else to ask? For example, the Li family. Mi Qing shook her head and said, people who don't matter, I ask them what they do and waste their emotions. Feng Orange. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Ability Testing. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 10 Ability Testing. Looking at Feng Orange, Yugongbi said, don't worry about the Li family. They dare not do anything. Your registered residence has been moved out, and now it is hanging in our reception desk. Tomorrow, when the household registration book is ready, it will be sent to you. Thank you, you've been a big help, said Mi Qing. Don't worry about the issue of registered residence. The Li family is nothing in her eyes. Now you belong to the special recruitment of the reception office and are a member of our reception office. The unit will handle everything for you, such as 5 insurances and 1 fund. This is a mobile phone exclusively for capable people. Even if there is no signal, you can contact our internal personnel. Yugongbi gave many instructions, and finally said, if you have anything to do, come to us and don't conflict with anyone. Mi Qing nodded in agreement and bid farewell to the two, looking at the small nest in front of her with a genuine smile in her eyes. It's really amazing without any external disturbance. However, she is currently nurtured by the country and has no ability to repay. She can only remember it in her heart and will eventually return it in the future. She doesn't like to owe favors, even if it's for the country. Time flies like a white horse, and in the blink of an eye, it takes a week. This Friday, Mi Qing only saw her desk mate at school, Censure, and he himself, as Li Xiaoping said, has slightly immature facial features, but he is truly blessed with exceptional talent and can shoulder the title of school grass. But Mi Qing's focus is not on his appearance, but on his aura. No matter how much he restrained himself, the faint bloody smell on his body persisted for a long time. No one can smell it, but Mi Qing has a keen sense of smell. Sitting next to him, with just a breath, he can smell the faint smell of blood beneath the cold fragrance on his body. Mi Qing has reason to suspect that the personal leave he took lasted for 2 weeks, probably going to the Void Realm. So, with the enthusiastic mutual introduction of Li Xiaoping and Ding Mo, Mi Qing and Censure exchanged names, but there was not much communication. During the break in the morning, Wei Yan came to find Sun Shiyu as usual. The attitude of the latter, as Li Xiaoping and others have said, is very indifferent. Wei Yan angrily glared at Mi Qing, but dared not lose her temper again. Last time, she ultimately did not detect any injuries. With Teacher Chen monitoring, the family's arrangements were not utilized. As a result, she was punished. Behind her back, she actually wanted to find fault with Mi Qing. But he was stopped by his parents sternly, just because Mi Qing is now from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She couldn't believe it, but knew that her parents wouldn't deceive her in this regard. The conflict with Mi Qing that day could only be broken teeth and swallowed into her stomach. Mi Qing witnessed the innocent and unrequited love story of a high school student with her own eyes, and she was in a good mood. After finishing school in the afternoon and seeing off the lively Li Xiao grapes, she curiously asked Sinshirha, "What is the state of the void?" Sinshir and Ding Dingdi glanced at Mi Qing a few times before laughing and saying, "Do you see it?" Mi Qing. I smelled it. You have a bloody smell on your body, it's very light. Sinshir was surprised and lowered his head to smell it. He didn't smell anything, but he didn't think Mi Qing would lie. In this world, there are many people with keen senses. The realm of emptiness. Describing it in words is actually quite scarce. If you truly immerse yourself in it, you will know in your heart that it is the realm of emptiness. What he said was mysterious, but Mi Qing understood his meaning. It sounds very interesting, he said. Sin Shiyu glanced at her and said with a serious tone, "That's a realm where life and death coexist. It's not good to have a curiosity mentality." Ding Mo previously said that Mi Qing happened to be an archivist and could join their team. But if Mi Qing has this mentality, this teammate won't do it. Mi Qing remained non-committal and waved goodbye. Sinshir frowned with rare eyes. The estrangement displayed by Mi Qing is completely different from what Ding Mo and his team described as warm and friendly. It seems that the other party is very clear and does not want to communicate with him too much. Sure enough, different paths do not conspire with each other. The time for middle school students is not only for studying, but also for studying. Even capable individuals need to learn a lot of courses in their first year of high school. During this period, it was busy and fulfilling. In the blink of an eye, it was the second semester of high school, and Mi Qing was also going to be 16 years old. At the age of 16, one's abilities will be completely stable. On her birthday, Feng Orange helped her celebrate her birthday with her front foot, and she was taken to the Gui department of Hanshui City for an ability test with her back foot. "Are you in such a hurry?" Mi Qing was indifferent, and Feng Cheng remembered their advice from his deputy, feeling very nervous. "Your evolutionary direction needs to be determined as soon as possible," he said. "I'm just fooling people." "Instead of believing this, it's better to lure Li Xian over," suggested Mi Qing jokingly. However, Feng Cheng had to think twice and answer cautiously to her words. She refused. "Oh, my goodness. The Ministry of Daring Emotions has already recruited Li Xian, and Mi Qing seems to be smiling rather than smiling." "Sister, don't laugh like that, I'm afraid," Feng Cheng couldn't understand. The deputy department knew that Mi Qing had a high IQ, so they even asked her to come and interact with her. "Isn't this suppressed in minutes?" Feng Cheng doesn't understand, but Yang Zhizhou and his team are very rational. It is precisely because Mi Qing has obvious emotional flaws and is also a smart person that they cannot send a smart person to contact her. It's better to be straightforward when interacting with Mi Qing. For example, sealing an orange is very suitable. Mi Qing. "Don't be afraid, Sister Orange. I will eat Li Xian, but I won't eat you." Feng Cheng feels that he will suffer. Mi Qing is indeed a natural enemy of Li Xian. She couldn't understand why Mi Qing had such a big opinion about Li Xian, but she wasn't the party involved, so she wouldn't speak casually, so she chose to remain silent. "After going through various procedures, I finally arrived at the testing department," and Feng Orange breathed a sigh of relief. "Hand over Mi Qing to the staff and finally remind them, according to the requirements, I will be waiting for you at the door." Mi Qing nodded and followed the staff inside. Ability testing, first experience, so Mi Qing is very curious. "Stand on top of this." The staff refers to a square flat plate that looks like a scale. There was nothing unusual about her appearance, so she took the opportunity to stand up. Various data appeared on the big screen in front of me, which seemed completely unfamiliar to me as an outsider. After some discussion, the staff came to the conclusion, it's an archivist. But it's not evolution, it still needs to be analyzed. Blood was drawn and urine was tested. It's more like a physical examination than a skill test. An hour later, various test data came out, and the staff took her to a different place. During this time, Mi Qing followed her nervously, even more nervous than Mi Qing herself. Turning back and forth, passing through layers of levels, they arrived at the 7th underground level. There are armed soldiers on guard at the entrance, which is even stricter than on the ground. Entering from the entrance, the terrain in front of me is open, with one small house after another neatly arranged. The staff took them to the registration office and said to the staff in charge of registration, I will take her to test the specific direction of the archivist. She needs to obtain a level 1 light void room card and a protective suit. The staff will register the information of the 3 individuals for future visits, hand them protective clothing and room cards, and also have a soldier accompanying them. Mi Qing watched this scene and, combined with the words of the staff, made some guesses about this place. Afterwards, she followed the staff wearing protective clothing to a room numbered 133. End of this chapter.